Clerk.
Committee and Delegation business, presentation and statements. Number 1, Australian Parliamentary Delegation to Greece and Turkey.
The member for McEwen.
Mr Speaker, in September and October last year I travelled to Greece and Turkey alongside my parliamentary colleagues, the member for Hindmarsh, Mr Steve Georgianis, and Senator Barry O'Sullivan, the great latte sipper from Queensland. Of course, with our wonderful Secretariat, Miss Ann Palmer, and I know Barry will be shaking when he hears me say that. He's not a latte man, but we got him onto one just to, for a bit of fun. But this is a pleasure to speak about the tabling of this report on our parliamentary delegation. We met with various Greek government officials and stakeholders to discuss trade, economic opportunities, our historic relations and issues surrounding border management. Our discussions gave us the opportunity to reiterate the strength and warmth of the relationship between Greece and Australia. The recovery of the Greece economy and the future economic opportunities were a central point of the discussions throughout the visit. It was a pleasure to tour Creta Farms, a leading producer of olive oil, meat and deli products. Creta Farms has a strong alliance with Primo Meats here in Australia, locally producing Creta Farms' unique olive oil-based products on our Aussie shores. These kinds of partnerships are vital in rebuilding of the Greek economy, and I hope that we can see more opportunities for cooperation. A particular highlight for me, coming from an electorate with such a rich military history, was our focus on the military engagements which underpin our relations with both Greece and Turkey. It was an honour to visit many memorials commemorating the role played and sacrifices made by Australian soldiers defending Greece and Crete during World War II. We paid our respects at the Suda Bay Allied War Memorial and Phaleron War Cemetery in Athens, where 250 fallen Australian soldiers are buried, as well as the Athens War Memorial, where 329 Australians are buried. To commemorate the role of Australian soldiers during the Battle of Crete in 1941, we visited the Stavromenos Memorial, where we met George, and I hope that Steve can pronounce his name properly, but George Pouladakis. Oh, thanks, mate. George's father, Mark, was instrumental in establishing the memorial, where we were incredibly humbled to lay wreaths at the Hellenic Australian Memorial Park in Rethino in the Battle of the 42nd Street Battle in Crete, an Anzac Memorial near Chennai. Now, I just want to point out the issue we've been having is the 42nd Street Memorial, of course, is famous because Red Saunders, the first Australian Indigenous person to be a commissioned officer, led a battalion there. Now, unfortunately, so far this year, we've had to write to 3 different Veterans Affairs ministers to try and get this memorial upgraded and treated properly. It's a beautiful memorial, but it just needs whoever does the mowing at the other cemeteries nearby, they're only a couple of miles away, someone to come down and just clean the gardens and keep it neat and tidy, because it is a very important part of Australian history. Of course, our time in Turkey was also defined by the deep military history we share. There aren't words to describe the feeling you get when you walk on Anzac Cove at the Gallipoli Memorial. It's something that I know touched me very deeply, and I had the opportunity to visit the wall at Lone Pine and see Keith Mitchell from Whittlesea, a relative who passed away, was killed on the Anzac Day landings. And really to appreciate just how great the Turkish people have been with the memorials at Anzac and what it means to Australians, and the respect that they showed us and they showed our soldiers during that time. We also had fruitful discussions with the chair of the Turkish Parliamentary Friendship Group, who noted the priority in establishing direct flight between Turkey and Australia for Turkish Airlines. There is movement in this respect, and we look forward to seeing the expansion of stopovers in Asia and then introduction of a non-stop flight route. Recently, Turkey began importing Angus cattle to use as breeding stock. We went through issues that they're having with keeping that stock going, and Senator O'Sullivan, being a good cattle producer, was able to talk through a whole range of things to help them. So our officials have got in touch with each other, so we're building support for the Turkish cattle industry as well. We looked at the arrival of refugees throughout Turkey and what they've had to face with the influx of refugees, and just how they've been able to handle it. In talking 3 million refugees heading into Turkey, and the way that they've been able to work very closely with the refugee communities, bring them in, help them get work and support, was something that we should look more and more closely at as we deal with this global crisis. But it was an important visit for our trade relations, it was an important visit for our cultural relations, and it was a great opportunity, as I said, to go to Anzac Cove, but to also see just how important trade is to Australia and Australia's future.